Round 11 of the URC was a good one for the Irish, not so much for the Welsh. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. First up from the weekend, we had a Friday night game, Edinburgh 19, Ospreys 15. So Ospreys actually opened the scoring in this one, penalty through Edwards, but then 5 minutes later, Hamish Watson goes over for a try, converted by Ben Healy. Then Healy, through the rest of the second half, tags on 3 more penalties for Edinburgh and gives them, a decent lead at halftime, 15-3, looking like they're kind of cruising a bit. And, having him back from the Scotland squad certainly was a boost for them. But then into the second half, then Ospreys, we've seen them being, dogged recently, and the same in this game. They start to mount a comeback. We have Parry went over for a try early in the second half. Then, with about 15 minutes to go, then Morris goes over as well for a converted try and sets up a bit of a tense finish, but Healy settles it, with a penalty about 7 minutes from time for Edinburgh for that final score, 19-15. But, a decent display from Ospreys, and it's good again to see, more of the Welsh sides, even though they lost this one, seeing them kind of be consistently competitive in their games against, teams from the other countries as well. So at the moment, I think we're maybe a season away from seeing the Welsh sides really, start to threaten the table in a serious way. But they're certainly looking better from last year. And Ospreys, they get the losing bonus point. Edinburgh with a good win for them, because we know that last year they fell away around about this time of the season. They're trying to maintain their momentum this time and maybe stay in those playoff places. So that was our first game. On Friday as well, we had Munster 45, Zebre 29. So it sounds like a bit of a blowout to Munster, but there was, a bit of trepidation, I think, for them in the second half. So we start off with Ruan Quinn goes over after 5 minutes to score. Then Haley goes over as well. Munster look like they're cruising, but then we have Hassa gets over for a try. That's converted by Priscantelli. Priscantelli adds a penalty there as well to kind of peg Munster back a little bit. Then Munster go again. Sneyman gets over. Sean O'Brien gets over as well for the bonus point try before half time. Then Frisch adds a 5th try before the break, and it looks like Munster are cruising, and that Zebre are not going to come back at them. But that into the second half, then Munster again, they score through Ruan Quinn, his second of the night, and it looked like Munster were gonna kind of produce a decent second half compared to the way they played recently in the second half of games. But then we have a couple of minutes later, Dominguez gets over. Then Priscantelli, really good footballing skills from him, to finish off a break after, there was a kick ahead, and then he kicks it a couple of times, and good control and good pace for him to finish as well. Then we have Delu gets over for Zebre's bonus point try with 5 minutes to go, and then Munster do have the final say. Daly getting over. I think he had a try ruled out earlier on in the game, and he had a decent game overall. So good to see him getting on the score sheet, first time in about a year or something for him, I think, in this competition. So final score is 45-29. Zebre, they've looked competitive at home like last season. This season certainly more competitive again, and now we're seeing them not necessarily threaten wins, but picking up a bonus point away from home against the likes of Munster is something that we wouldn't have thought we'd see Zebre doing a couple of years ago. So it shows the the advancement they've made there, but overall a decent win for Munster. Then we're on to our Saturday game. So early game, Emirates Lions 40, the Sharks 10. I thought this was going to be a close one because the Lions, they were in that position where I thought they were maybe going to put in a bit of a charge to get into the playoffs, and then they fell away a little bit. And the Sharks, again, their performances are kind of blind their positions, propping up the table. But in this one, they concede 3 tries in the first 20 minutes. Nohamba, Pretorius, and Horn all getting over. Cater gets their 1 try of the game, and they'd scored a penalty in the second minute as well. So the Sharks scoring is done within the first 30 minutes of the game. Lions aren't done though. Into the second half, then Van Vuren and Cronje get over, within 5 minutes of each other, and then a few minutes later, then Sergio goes over as well. So the Lions bonus point win, and it's a decent win as well. Like, to win 30 points against in a South African derby really is good going for them, and hopefully for the Lions fans and for the Lions team that it is going to be a resurgence for them. I'm going to see an exciting end to the season with them in the mix to potentially get into those playoff places and qualify for the Champions Cup as well. But for the Sharks, that search for another win this season still goes on for them. They still have a chance to kind of move off the bottom of the table because the teams just above them, apart from Zebre, who seem to be picking up points at the moment, aren't picking up too many match points. So it means that if they can get that win, they can start moving up. But we'll look at that when we look at the table later. On to the next one then. This was like a top of the table clash. It was second versus third at the time. And Benetton didn't start the best, honestly, in this, because they conceded a try through Matthews. Matthews is a try scoring machine for the Warriors, and it's kind of similar to last year Ulster as well, the same thing. You get your hooker and get him in position, and he can get over for plenty of tries. Then MacLeod goes over as well. He scored the previous week too for them, so he's in good try scoring form. And they're leading at halftime 12-0. Then second half, Benetton start kind of chipping away at that lead. Manga with a penalty in the first few minutes. 10 minutes later, another penalty. Then it kind of goes quiet for a bit, but then 10 minutes to go, he scores again, and it's 9 points to 12. We think, Benetton, if they can get a try now, they could nick this one. But it was Glasgow come up with a try. Jordan goes over. We're on for Thompson. He converts, and then that's enough for the win and denies Benetton a losing bonus point as well, which is really good work from Glasgow. They didn't get the bonus point themselves, but they deny a rival bonus point so that they could stay above them in the table there, and just kind of deny the chance of Benetton maybe leapfrogging them next week, or next round, should I say. Next week is back to Six Nations. But yeah, two teams in really good form, and a lot of the time when you see that, you're either going to get both teams just going crazy scoring tries against each other, or a tight one like this where one score can make all the difference, and that Jordan score really did make the difference in that game. On to the next one then. It was the Vodacom Bulls 40, DHL Stormers 22. I don't know why I said their sponsors. I very rarely do with these teams, because the weird thing for me is, for almost any other team, the Welsh teams are a bit strange as well, but for most teams, even though I know Benetton, I know that they're from Treviso, etc., whereas Bulls and the Stormers, it's always difficult for me to remember where the teams are, because they got the sponsor in there as well. So it's a sponsor and their, don't know what would you call it, their persona, I guess, in there, and not even any mention of their the place where they're from. And it's kind of very American, right, that you don't have the name of the place in there, because it seems like a franchise almost. You could move it to another city, and I'd hate to see that in rugby. But any South African fans, let me know. Like, it's obviously a long time that it's been like that because Super Rugby as well. But would you rather have the name of the city in there as well, rather than the sponsor? Kick the sponsor out, put the city in. That's what I say. But anyway, it's 40 points to 22. So, Bulls have been the best South African team in the URC this year. You just have to look at the table to see that. Stormers, they've been on a bit of a comeback though in the recent rounds, and this was a good chance for them to maybe just cement their place in the playoff places and start kind of working their way up the table up to where the Bulls are. But Bulls are having none of it. They go over in the first minute through Grobler, but we have then a penalty from Houston. Loader goes over for the Stormers to cut that lead, and then you have Houston adding on penalties as well. He got another one in the 13 minutes, one in the 19th minute, one in the 23rd minute, and that was his boot just stretched that lead out. And then Roos goes over for the Stormers for their second try just before the break. So very tight at the break into second half. Then Lebok scores a penalty as well. And you think Stormers are maybe taking a bit of control. Then Grobler goes over for a second try for the Bulls. Kane and Moody over as well a few minutes later after that. Then Venter for the Stormers, but at this stage then the Bulls have a decent lead, and then Papier adds that he gets a bonus point try and basically just seals the deal for the Bulls with 5 minutes to go. Stormers at that stage were kind of in the hunt for a potential losing bonus point, but weren't able to get there. And if they had got over themselves, they would have got the losing bonus point and a try bonus point on top of that as well, which would have been a decent return for them. But it's the Bulls who take the 5 match points out of this and deny the Stormers a point. So you got to be happy with that, winning a South African derby pretty well. Not as well as the Lions did over the Sharks, but still an 18-point win against a South African rival is definitely worth the bragging rights for a little while at least. On to then our next one, Connacht 26, Scarlets 10. So Connacht started this one really well. Blade and the Bootler getting over in the first 10 minutes for them. Then Jensen goes over in 22 minutes. Jones gets the single try for the Scarlets. He actually scored all the points, converted his own try. Then in the second half, then he scores a penalty to kind of bring them a little bit back into the game. But then Janssen goes over for his second try, and then Hanrahan adds on the extras, and it's 26 points to 10 there. And Connacht, we know they're very up and down, but the Scarlets are probably a good, at this time of the season, good time to play the Scarlets because they're losing a little bit of form, and Connacht, they needed a kind of a confidence booster themselves because they're falling out of those playoff positions. So decent win for them, bonus point win there. On to then our next game, and that was Cardiff 20 and Leinster 33. So Leinster, as usual, get their kind of fast start. We got Russell going over for a try after 3 minutes, Deegan over after 8, and you're thinking they're 12-0 up. Leinster are just cruising. Then De Beer gets a penalty for Cardiff. Then just before half time, that's normally when you expect Leinster to strike and to kind of kill a game off, but instead it's Cardiff that strike and hit them with a double blow. Carr going over with 5 minutes till half time, and then just a minute to half time as well. And De Beer converts that one, so Cardiff actually leading at the break against Leinster in that one, but then into the second half, then Leinster re-established their control of the game. Mill going over for a couple of tries, then McKee getting over, with 10 minutes to go. Summerhill did go over for Cardiff as well, with 5 minutes to go. They weren't able to get over for another one that would have been their bonus point try, and would have got them a losing bonus point as well, which would have been, I think on the balance of the performance, especially given how well they came back kind of in that middle period, would have been maybe deserved for them too. But Leinster are just a machine. 5 tries for them and a bonus point as well. So kind of an expected win for Leinster, but still, I'd say, for Cardiff, promising performance again from them. On to then the final game of the weekend. That was Ulster 49, Dragons 26. So Ulster, another fast start in this game. Addison over after 4 minutes, but then Benjamin replies for the Dragons. Then Lowry is over for the first of his 2 tries. Sheridan then goes over. Sheridan, I think, is a really, really promising player. Lowry gets a second before half-time, so Ulster have the bonus point, in the bag at that stage. Then into the second half, Screech, who's had a decent, few rounds for the Dragons, he gets rewarded with a try himself. McCann then goes over for Ulster for the first of his 2 tries. Coughlin, it's Coughlin. I'm just thinking it's an Irish name, but I think they pronounce it differently. He gets over for Dragons, and suddenly Dragons have the potential to get a bonus point try themselves, and not within striking distance really of overtaking Ulster, but certainly given the Ulster's recent form, there's got to be a little bit of trepidation there. But then Timoney goes over with 10 minutes to go. McCann gets a second a couple of minutes later. Then Timoney, after scoring a try, just before the end, he gets a yellow card for preventing what was a potential try for Dragons. So Dragons get the penalty try, and they do get that try bonus point, which their performance deserved. But Ulster, they went over. What was it, 7 times? No, 7 times in the game. So in the end, looks comfortable on the scoreboard, and it was certainly a better performance from Ulster than we've seen in kind of recent months from them. Dragons, the fact that they got a losing bonus point certainly is something good for them, but they've got to start getting results in terms of losing bonus points or winning games and stuff like that as well, because we're not seeing enough of that from them really, and that's why they're in that little pack that's been cut adrift at the bottom. But we'll have a look at that now. We're going to look at the table. So top of the table, we have Leinster there. They were knocked off briefly, I think a couple of times over the weekend, because I think maybe Glasgow went top first, and then the Bulls. Yeah, Glasgow went top first with their win, and then the Bulls won later, so they went top. And then Leinster retook the lead with their bonus point win in Cardiff. So 4-point gap between Leinster and the Bulls and the Warriors down there on 40 points each, and it looks like at the moment it's those 3 really duking it out for basically those positions 1 to 3 there, and obviously everyone wants to finish top of the pile, because that way then if you win your knockout games, you're going to have a home game in the final, and it just makes life so much easier. It doesn't guarantee you a trophy or anything like that, but it certainly gives you a much better chance of lifting that trophy at the end. Then we got a little bit of daylight down to Edinburgh on 34 points. Ulster also 34, Munster 34. So from fourth down, it's very tight. Fourth down to the Lions in 11th place, just only 5 points. That's a bonus point win separating all of those teams. So you've got basically 5 places in knockout stages up for grabs there, but there are 8 teams vying for those places. So that's what's making, I think, the league really exciting this year. And next after Munster in 6th place, you got Connacht there on 33 points. So all 4 Irish provinces now in the top 8. You got both of the Scottish teams up there as well. Just one South African team at the minute. That's Glasgow in 3rd place. Benetton then round out the top 8. So an Italian team in there as well. But that's crazy, right? They were up there potentially vying, to go second with Glasgow, or at least go third because of the Bulls. But like if Benetton had beaten Glasgow, Benetton would be up there in 3rd place, and Glasgow, would be kind of in down in 4th place. With the likes of Edinburgh, Ulster and Munster trying to chase them down, and that's how close it is this season, that you can go from being right up there near the top to now on the edge of potentially being overtaken by the teams just outside. And those teams include the Stormers there in 9th place on 30 points, Ospreys 10th place on 30 points, and then the Lions in 11th place on 29. And that's where, for me, the cutoff is for anyone with realistic chances of making the playoffs at this stage. I know we still have 7 rounds to go, and a team like Cardiff there in 12th with 22 points certainly could make up those 10 points up to the likes of Benetton, but it means that they're going to have to go on a great run. You can't have any blips in there. It's got to be win. You can't have a couple of defeats in there. That's going to be enough for the other teams to just eke out that much of an advantage that you're not going to catch them. So Cardiff, unless they have a stellar end to the season, are probably going to finish in that no man's land between the teams who are now vying for those playoff places, and then this little group at the bottom who've been kind of cut loose. So top of that little pile at the moment is Zebre in 13th place with 14 points, which for them would be an amazing finish to the season. The team that have been propping up the table for so long, for so many seasons, to be able to get that high up the table just shows the kind of potential they have. And it's something that they could build on next year. I think if they could get that 13th place finish, and then next year then look at that as kind of a minimum for them and try and push on from there, I think that would be good. Scarlets, just 2 wins this season for them, and they've got 12 points there, but they know, like, playoffs, Champions Cup, anything like that is gone for them. So it's just about trying to get a bit of momentum going into next season, and see how they go from there. The Dragons, kind of the same, just 2 wins for them as well, 11 match points. But for them, I think the thing is as well is that they got that they got the try bonus point against Ulster, but their problem really is defence. Like, they're conceding too many points. The fact that if you're scoring 4 tries and not even anywhere near winning the game, like in the end, that's a major problem for your defence, and that's something that they've definitely got to sort out. They've almost conceded 400 points this year, just 5 shy of that, so definitely got to sort it out. The Sharks then, bottom of the table, certainly got a meaner defence, but their problem is that they've been scoring points themselves, but it always seems like they're just on the wrong side of the results. Apart from at the weekend where they obviously got a big hiding against the Lions, they've come close in a few games, but. And you can see that as well, the fact that they have 6 bonus points, which for a team sitting at the bottom of the table is pretty good going. But they've only got 1 win this season, and that's where I think the difference is. If they can get another couple of wins, I think they will kind of move off that bottom position, because I don't see the Dragons either. I don't see both of the Dragons or the Scarlets winning 2 more times by the end of the season. I think one of them might pick up a win and the other might potentially pick up 2, but I don't see like 4 wins between the 2 of those teams. So that the opportunity is there for the Sharks to move off the bottom, but that's not really where the Sharks want to be. Last season they were up there, they were contesting like they missed out on a European place because of the rules that we had last season, right? About that the winner of each shield will go into the top competition, the Champions Cup, but that's gone this year. But so are the Sharks' chances of qualifying for the Champions League for next year. So it's all about, again, trying to get momentum going into next year for them, which is crazy when you think we're slightly over the hump now of the halfway point of the season. But it really is what they've got to do, and they've got to focus on finishing this season as well as they can, and then using that as a springboard for next year and just learning from what happened to them this season. But that is our look at the table. So as I'm wearing this jersey, so it's in honor of a couple of things. First is in honor of the fact that the Irish did a clean sweep. Unfortunately for the Welsh, they actually did what is the opposite? Somebody tell me, what's the opposite of a clean sweep? Because the Welsh teams lost all their games. What is that called? Like, I know, like, it's like if a single entity or person lost everything, it'd be like a duck, right, or something. But what is it collectively for a group? So somebody let me know an appropriate word to use there. But yeah, so in honor of the Irish teams doing that. Also the fact that I don't own any other URC jerseys other than the 4 Irish provinces, but my ambition is one day to own a shirt from every one of these teams. It's going to take me a long time, so stick around the channel for maybe the next 10 years and I've done that. But maybe this year I've got my eye on a particular team's jersey, so hopefully I can get that maybe for my birthday or something. That's where this came from last year, so that would be a nice present for this year. But that's a long way away. But the other reason I'm wearing it is because Ulster, Dan McFarland is gone. Dan Soper has 1 game in charge. He's got a 100% win record as Ulster standing coach. He's then going to step aside because we have, what's the guy's name? I forgot his name. The guy that he's basically the Ireland under-20 coach is taking over from Ulster from the next round, which is after the under-20 Six Nations and the Six Nations end as well. But yeah, this is in honour of the fact that Ulster actually produced a performance that we haven't seen from a long time from them. So it's good to see them back. And it's just good to see the URC being so exciting as well. So that's the end of this one. There won't be any rugby video from me tomorrow because I'm traveling. So Wednesday, I'm looking at then, switching the focus to the Six Nations then at the weekend. So we'll have kind of a preview of the round, and then as teams come out then later on in the week, we'll have previews of each of the matches. We'll then have reviews at the weekend. Saturday I should be okay to do reviews, but then I'm traveling home again on Sunday, so the Sunday game, that review might have to wait until Monday. We'll have to see. But that's the end of that one. Hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you on the next one.